Welcome to High Score Throwdown with your host, Nick Knoke.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HighScore ThrowDown.
He's rating it. He's rating it.
I'm Nick Knoke, your host here for your enjoyment. Tonight is our champions round. We've got our three champions here to see who is the winner of winners, the champion of champions. All right, today on my panel, we've got Chris Hawk.
What's up, everybody?
Joey Hill.
The Salt King.
John Knoke.
He's not 100% though. Not 100%.
I got this.
All right.
I'll take whatever I can get at whatever advantage I mean.
No love for the co-host or fact checker.
Tonight, my fact checker is Mario Baccari.
Whoa! Out, IGN, I'm calling you out again.
Oh my God, we're gonna get hate mail.
Dude,
And,
IGN reviews are legit.
And my co-host here is George Glite.
Hi.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move straight in to our first question.
Oh wow, that was fast.
All right.
Jump on it.
What NES game would make a great remake on the new consoles? All right, I'm going to start here with Joey Hill.
All right. Hello, everybody. Just want to say the King of Salt is back as a panelist. I thought about it a lot.
You wrote that down.
I looked at a lot of NES games, but I think the thing that, like, when you decide on this, it has to be something that you played yourself, something that you enjoyed, and would really like to see come back. For me, that was Battletoads. I would absolutely love to see a Battletoads remake. The crazy thing about a Battletoads remake is that Microsoft actually did recently purchase the license to Battletoads, so we could see something like that in the future. I mean, I loved it as a kid. The characters looked awesome. It was a challenging game, but the gameplay was really addictive, and by that, that made it quite rewarding. It had some of the best graphics on the NES at the time, developed by Rareware. I think that if they brought it in using a formula similar to that of Castle Crashers, because I think Castle Crashers is probably the most recent successful beat-em-up that I have played, and that game was fantastic. If they used that formula or something along those lines, they could be really successful in this, and I think it would shine in today's industry as like an arcade indie game, downloadable from like Xbox Live or PlayStation Network, or, well, obviously it would be Microsoft, so it's Xbox.
All right. So, John Knoke, what's your NES game?
All right. My NES game is also a game I actually enjoyed and played as a kid. It's actually called Guerrilla War. Most people may not be familiar with it.
I'm not.
It's actually a direct parody of the Cuban Revolution on the NES. Okay. Player 1 actually plays as Che Guevara. Player 2 is Fidel Castro. No joke.
Why would you want to be player 1? I want to be player 2.
It's actually pretty great. And exactly. Who doesn't want to be player 2?
Amazing.
You're Fidel Castro. In the U.S. version, the original U.S. version, you never got to be them. They never acknowledged them. But you're actually those two people. In the Japanese version, like, you get the full story. In the U.S. version, it's generic.
Well, what am I going to do in this game?
I'm getting there.
All right, let him get there. Let
him finish first. Opening statement.
So, shut your mouth. Basic game is you go around, you shoot waves of enemies, you fight at least 8 bosses. There's roughly 9 different things. There's a giant train. There's a Plow Brothers. You fight the Plow Brothers. They're like a giant plow. You fight them twice because you don't kill them the first time. There's a train. There's a huge dude. There's a general comes out of a house. There's just a bunch of waves of enemies. You're shooting them. It's pretty great. I'll let Chris Hawk go.
All right, Chris Hawk.
All right, I'm also a game I did play on the NES. Of the 5 games I did play on the NES, it's called River City Ransom. It is a beat-em-up, free-roaming action role-playing game. It's Saints Row meets Grease meets Double Dragon.
Can you do all that on the NES?
The plot follows high school students Alex and Ryan as they cross River City in an attempt to rescue River City High, their high school, and Ryan's girlfriend, Cindy, who's a shopaholic, by the way. It's not important to the plot, but it's pretty funny. This game is pretty much making fun of itself the entire time. From the clutches of a villain named Slick. All right? Along the way, they battle the gangs of students, such as the generic dudes, the frat guys, the jocks, and the squids. This is back then in the 80s, so they had those generic names, and the cowboys. And there are several gang leaders of certain types of cities and schools. The fighting style is very similar to Double Dragon, in that the player can move freely around the screen while pressing buttons to punch, kick, and jump. Objects such as brass knuckles, steel pipes, and trash cans can be used as melee weapons or thrown at enemies. However, I think you can do this. This is the best transition to NES to next gen that you can. This is a free roaming game, and and it's non-linear. You can do whatever you want in this game, and it's going to be 3D. It's going to be just like Saints Row, and the fact that you can move around just like your character can in Saints Row, and it's going to be like the fighting style of Batman Arkham Knight, in which you can learn certain new types of fighting styles as you go along and learning from different types of stops and stuff. And you to update it, I feel like you can add more characters, not just Alex and Ryan. You can add like maybe a boxer or a karate type guy, and you can add different types of fighting styles and villains, as well as more cities. So it's like you're trying to reclaim your own turf, just like Saints Row.
What is the plot to the game?
To save the girl and to make sure that River City High is the best city.
I just want to let you guys know there's a Kickstarter
for River
a
City
follow-up.
River City Ransom Underground, but it's still side scroll. I'm talking about next gen, sir.
Okay.
I don't want a Kickstarter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What is the plot of Battletoads?
I mean,
You fight people.
yeah, you're a bunch of toads, and it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles plot. You got to go and fight the big bad guy at the end.
Okay.
All that good stuff. I just think it would be a really fun thing to see come over into like the arcade, done in an indie style.
Did you ever beat Battletoads?
I didn't. It's actually a really hard game.
John, what kind of game is your game? Is it a side scroller?
It's actually like I guess you would call it a forward scroller, because it's like from the vertical point of view, but at the same time it's kind of inverted. So like you're moving through jungles, and as you move up, the screen moves up with you. Enemies come in, you kill them, you move up with them. Kind of like those old school fight games where you go across the side.
Okay.
But it's more vertical view, like
It's
you're
like
on
the-
top of it. Yeah.
Kind of like
I
how
don't know what
Sonic 3D was.
How would you?
Oh, so it's a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
How would
okay.
you want this
Yeah.
game to look like if it came over to the next?
Well, see,
gen?
that's the thing. I think you could do either of them. Like part of the best part about this game is the Cuban Revolution isn't a big thing anymore. Like when it was released in '87, like people that was a big thing. Fidel Castro is still alive. He's dead now. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? But he's still
Who
great.
cares?
Great.
But
I just
the Cuban
remember the name of the
Revolution
style
is
you're
great
talking about.
because there's the two guys putting together the revolution to overthrow Batista, the president of Cuba at the time. Like
Batista
you
the
could
wrestler?
remake it
Guy
in the
from
style
Guardians
of
of
like
the
a Call of Duty game, even if you wanted to. Like that'd be cool.
I think
But
that-
I mean, you could keep it on the arcade and just re-release it on next gen. Update everything, even more ridiculous bosses as much as you want to do. The NES was pretty limited, so I mean, it's really about how they want to remake it or re-release it.
I think
Yeah,
that
hold
game
on.
would bring a lot of controversy. I don't know if it
So
would branch out to a lot of
The word
audience.
you were looking for is
with
top
Fidel
down.
Castro as like a
Top
main
down.
selling
Top down.
character.
Thank you.
all right, I've got a question here for all of you. So Chris Hawk. So the way you described your game, it seemed really similar to the way it was on the NES. Is that what I want?
That is what you want, because I think the NES game River City Ransom could be the best translated onto a next gen console, because it's a free roaming action role playing game. You level up the more you fight, how you fight, and stuff like that, and it's free roam. And in the NES version, you could go anywhere you want. And I think you could do that perfectly on the next gen by going anywhere you want in a 3D atmosphere instead of the 2D atmosphere. And I think it just translates way better than all the other games.
But isn't that just the same with better graphics? That's what you're describing to me.
Well, he described
But you said what it should be remade, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Turtles in Time got remade for the Xbox, and look at
I
it.
like the idea. I recently, well, not super recently, but I got to play the Strider remake, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think they did a fantastic job with how they basically took a side scroller and brought it back as a side scroller. I think that they just took the original formula, brought it in with some next gen controls, graphics, and things like that. And I feel like with Battletoads, it would be a great thing. I would like some 3D aspects to it. Like the characters would obviously be next gen graphics. They would appear in that manner. But I think that leaving the type of game that it is really important when you bring these games over. And I think that Battletoads would be most successful in that aspect. And I think that's, like I said, following the formula done by Castle Crashers, but maybe just giving it a 3D look would make Battletoads a really successful. I think that you wouldn't need a large price tag on it. You're not going to sell it as a whole game. I think that it would do its best as an arcade style game that you just download for maybe like $20 off of the Xbox Live Store.
Okay.
Is it as hard as Battletoads?
I would say
would
that they
hope
would
not.
have to
'Cause
help out with the difficulty there.
I got to
'Cause
level 2.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
like,
it was
alright,
pretty
I raged.
difficult.
Real fast. All right. So is it worthy of a remake? If they remade it, would people be like, that was a great game?
It's not about who remembers the game, because sure you can remember a game and you'll buy it because you remember it. That doesn't mean the game's great. The game could suck. You got to make the new game good. Nobody cares about the old game. Sure, people might remember it. I mean, what people most remember about Guerrilla War is the fact that it was usually, if you had an NES, the first game you beat if you had access to a lot of games, because you had unlimited continues. That was
Is it a shooter?
It's like a third-person, like top-down shooter. That's why I'm saying you could remake it as a Call of Duty game, even if you wanted to. Like, it doesn't matter about the Cuban Revolution. I mean, what do we do with the World War II? Nobody cares anymore. I mean, Jewish people still get offended about the Holocaust. But Cuban Revolution, I mean, why can't we touch that?
I think that the World War II is a lot more popular than the Cuban Revolution. And I think that by making Fidel Castro one of your like selling characters, that's going to bring a lot of controversy, and a lot of people are going to not care. Like a lot of people are not going to care about the game because of Fidel Castro.
I think that's actually false, because Fidel Castro is going to be a selling point.
Okay. I think maybe to our group of friends, but to the general public, I think parents are going to avoid this game.
Real fast, I'm going to ask you each one question. It's going to be the last question. They're all going to be the same. So, does the game need to be different in any aspect to be relevant on the new consoles for the new market?
I would say when the question said remade, you're going to update it a little bit. So instead of some of the gangs might be the generic dudes or the frat guys, you may want to fight again. Maybe there's a gang of just a bunch of hipsters. I think that would be really funny. One of the best parts about River City Ransom is the game is funny. When you actually beat dudes down, they would yell out stuff like, when they got defeated, they would yell out stuff like "Mama!" or "Barf," and that's one of the famous cult things of River City Ransom.
In your intro, you said it would be like Batman, like the new Batman game.
Well, the fighting style, the fighting.
Okay.
The way the fighting would be. My question's not done.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
But I feel like to update it, you would just have to do certain clicks. Like clicks back then wouldn't be the same clicks now.
So just
I would update it. Yes,
you just
I would.
update it to be more relevant to today's pop
Exactly.
culture.
I would have the hipsters and stuff like that.
So same question: does it need to be updated? For today's market?
No, I don't think it does. And I think that it's going to be like games brought back are going to be most successful if they are ported and not updated too much. I think Chris Hawk's going a little too far with his updates and pretty much changing almost the entire scale of the game, and I think that could upset a lot of the fan base. What I'm saying with Battletoads is I'm getting a Battletoad right now. No.
Flubbing up.
I think with Battletoads, if you change it too much, the fan base is gonna be unsuccessful. You're gonna lose. The fan base is gonna be upset. And I think by sticking with a similar formula to what you started with is what you're going to be.
I just don't feel like
successful.
Another side scroll of Battletoads is what people want. They want a new game, and they want River City Ransom 3D.
Okay.
I don't think you need to change something that is based off history. Like,
okay.
You can change the gameplay, sure, because that's what it's about. It's about remaking the game. But I think part of the problem with nostalgia is the nostalgia. Like, part of the good thing about Guerrilla War is not a lot of people have heard of it. So if you remake it, I mean, people are going to look it up, sure, but that's not what it's about. It's about the new game. It's not about the original. I don't care. Like,
so
Battletoads, I'm not going to buy it if it's not different because I couldn't beat the original. I'm not going to try to beat the new one.
Okay, so you're saying basically the opposite of what he said. Change the gameplay, but
that's what it's about.
Not the setting.
Well, it's history. You really can't.
Okay.
You only can. If it's historical fiction, then you can add mechas to everything. Maybe Cuba was ahead of the war and had mechas.
I think one thing we got to look at though is nostalgia and retro is popular right now. I think that's what's going to sell. If you stick retro and
I just feel like you guys, when it said remade, you want it to be updated too, and I think River City Ransom is the best updated version.
Bring it in so that the modern audience can play it.
All right, I'm going to call it. So I think I'm going to give it to Chris Hawk because his game doesn't need much updating. It sounds like games nowadays that come out, it just needs to update the setting.
I feel like he oversold it because it does play like Double Dragon. It's still a side-scrolling beat-em-up, just like everything else on the NES.
I feel like you're salty right now.
Cheers.
Battletoads did have kind of a story. You have to defeat the evil Dark Queen on her planet so you can rescue your kidnapped partners.
But how many people know that plot? Because no one
could beat the game.
Just beat the final boss.
I love Battletoads Double Dragon. That's one of my favorite games of all time. So if they remade that,
I feel like if you do Battletoads, Double Dragon wouldn't be far behind.
I haven't played it.
You beat level 2 of Battletoads?
Yeah, with the
you're like the king of Battletoads.
I think Fall Guys
is the king of Battletoads. All right, on to the next question. So, is multiplayer needed for a game to be considered great?
Here we go.
All right, I'm going to start with Joey Hill.
All right.
Again.
That's fine. My answer, I'd say it's not at all needed. It can make a game great, but I don't think it's needed at all.
Okay.
There are plenty of great games out there that lack multiplayer. Mass Effect 1 and 2, no multiplayer, great games. KOTOR, one of my favorite games of all time, no multiplayer. Final Fantasy 7, 8, 10, fantastic installments of their series, no multiplayer. Ninja Gaiden, one of my favorite games. I broke 2 controllers playing that game. I've played it a million times through, no multiplayer. Metal Gear Solid, no multiplayer, great games. However, I do think that multiplayer can be what makes a game great. Halo 2 is widely considered by most people who are not John Knoke to be the best Halo game because of what its multiplayer did for the shooting genre. Many of those same people would argue about its lackluster story, like Chris Hawk. Call of Duty is another great example. It's better known for its multiplayer than its campaign. I'm not going to dog on its campaign, but most people play Call of Duty for the multiplayer. Me personally, I love and still play Titanfall. And I think that is a game that doesn't really have any single-player campaign whatsoever, and I still think it's a great game.
So what are you arguing? Yes or no?
My argument is no, you don't need it.
Okay.
But it can be a selling point.
All right, Chris Hawk.
I'm going to argue yes. I think you need multiplayer for a game to be great. Single player can only be played so many times before the twists and turns can only last so long. You're going to get bored of it, and then the game's done. You're going to trade it in. I feel like human interaction is the greatest joy when it comes to video games. That's why they were invented. Arcades came in 2 players, so you could play with someone else. Multiplayer sells games and makes them great. It sends them to the top. Multiplayer makes games go to the next step. Halo, by itself, was a great game. But when you added multiplayer, it became legendary.
All right. I just want to say for the viewers at home, Chris Hawk was very passionate in that argument. His hands were flailing around. All right. John Knoke?
My answer is actually agreeing with Joey, and it's no, you do not need multiplayer. And part of I'm just going to add some to his list, because I actually had some of those. Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid, the original Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, all of those, you don't need multiplayer. None of the Zeldas have multiplayer. The Mario spin-offs have multiplayer.
So you're for single player altogether?
I'm saying you don't need multiplayer.
Okay.
To be a good game. Part of the problem with the multiplayer is today's generation. Every game has multiplayer, but how many of these games are great? How many of these games that don't have a strong single player campaign are phenomenal?
But they're great because they have the multiplayer game. That's why people are buying the games.
How many people think Titanfall is a great game?
Tell me about Tomb Raider, Chris Hawk.
A lot of people do because they're still playing the multiplayer.
Chris Hawk, tell me about Tomb Raider. Is that a great game?
It was a great game.
But was it great because of its multiplayer?
I never played its multiplayer.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't.
But I'm not playing that game.
You're not playing it for the multiplayer. You don't need it.
I didn't even know it had multiplayer until HighScore ThrowDown.
I feel like you do.
All right. So just for clarification here, you're arguing that a game needs multiplayer. You're arguing that a single player alone, single player, no local multiplayer, no multiplayer at all, can be a great game. That's what you two are arguing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Totally possible.
So my question to you two is, what about my friends? My friends are going to come over, I want to play this great game, but are we going to take turns, or are they going to just sit here and watch me play?
Sure, Sean Barnes.
Be like Sean.
Yeah, Sean Barnes, you're fine.
I mean, actually, some people do that.
I know.
I don't think that's what makes a game great. You don't have to be able to play with your
Some
friends.
people do go over and watch their friends play, but I mean that's what YouTube is for nowadays.
Twitch.
But I think that you can still play a single player game with your friends. You switch off, you work together. I've done it. One time I played through the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 2 with Chris Morgan. I played the game, he read the strategy guide to me, and we did it together and we had a great time. Metal Gear Solid 2, that's how I beat it.
I don't think you need multiplayer for the game to be great, but I also think, great is a personal opinion. I just think that there's so many multiplayer games nowadays. How many of them do you remember that don't have a good story, like single player wise?
I still remember taking.
Well, a lot of the Call of Duty don't have a very good story
midnight.
player, and they're just made for multiplayer, turning out every year.
But how many people of the overall populace think Call of Duties are great games?
They think
because that's why they buy them.
I'll tell you what, because
it's one of the best-selling FPSs of all time.
Is it why they buy them?
That's,
or is
they
it
buy
that's
it.
what everybody's playing.
They buy it so they can play the multiplayer. They don't buy it because they can play the campaign. Because they still keep the game afterwards and play the multiplayer. They got prestige, man. It's all about prestige.
There is an alternative to
Halo
Call of
for the
Duty.
win.
It's Battlefield and Halo, but that's just a clarification there. So you guys made your arguments. Nothing else you guys want to add?
I think we can call it from here.
I feel like some of the best best games are multiplayer games like WoW and League of Legends and Team Fortress 2, and I feel like they don't need a single player to be great. They're already great by themselves with just multiplayer. They don't need a single player game, and I think they're great.
I mean, I agree with you to a point, but I don't think you need multiplayer to be great either. You don't need it.
Are those great games on the same level as the original great games that didn't need multiplayer?
If single player games are so great, then why is there an increase in multiplayer games coming out right now? There's
because that's where the money is.
Exactly. Single player
doesn't make a game great because there's money behind
it.
It
Doesn't make a game not great either.
Chris Hawk, I've got a question for you. What about the games from back in the old days before I was born, where you couldn't play multiplayer?
The very first video game was multiplayer. I'm just throwing that out there.
The very first video game was.
True.
It was Pong.
That is true.
What about those games like Zork?
Kick your ass in Pong.
That's considered a video game almost. Text adventure video game.
You're wrong.
What about those games? Are those games not great because they don't have a multiplayer?
They're great because they're classic. They're not great because they don't have multiplayer.
Hipster.
And they do have a form of multiplayer because you would. The thing
I have
is,
a question for
the
the
games are
fact
so
checker.
short that the person behind you could get in and play right after you.
First video game.
I believe it was Pong.
First video game?
Yeah, find it out. Fact check.
All right.
I'm pretty sure it was Pong.
So I'm gonna have to call this one and give it to Joey Hill and John Knoke because while your argument was good, that last question kind of killed you because those, no matter what you want to call it, those single player games didn't have a multiplayer. All right.
Even so, very first one.
So next question: most unneeded video game sequel. We're gonna start with John Knoke.
I know my answer.
I have two, but I will narrow it to one if you need me to. But they are both Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations.
Okay, so
Yeah, you can group those together. I think that's fair.
Exactly. All
I
right.
feel like you only should pick one.
Here,
I'll let them group.
sequel,
I agree, and I
a
love AC.
sequel within a sequel. That's what they are. All right.
Okay.
So Assassin's Creed came out. Everybody loved it. It was a new thing. All right. Everybody loved Altair. Assassin's Creed 2 came out. It was even better. Everybody loved Ezio. Okay.
Yeah,
so what happens?
That's the best one.
What happens?
No.
Assassin's Creed 2.1 and 2.2.
Assassin's Creed 4.
So unnecessary. I played through both of them halfway through, and I got bored because it's the same stuff. You're doing the same things. You're doing the same stuff. It doesn't advance the story because the best part of the story is when you're outside of the Animus, and the best part of that story happens in the third one. Why do you need a 2.1 and a 2.2 to tell the same guy's story just because he's older and older every time? It's just not necessary.
Cha-ching.
Chris Hawk.
All right. The most unneeded video game sequel is Halo 4. Halo 4 is the most unneeded video game sequel. Not because Halo 4 is bad, because it is not a Halo game at its core. I felt that Halo 3 was the perfect ending for our gunslinger Master Chief as he rode off into metaphorical sunset at the end of the game. I came to terms with the fact that Halo had ended. I was set. I was like, this is it. It's done. It was a solid, good trilogy. That was one of the 3 best games I have ever played. I felt that Halo 4 did not have the same magic as the first 3. With some rust emotional story, boring archetype weapons, the Forerunner weapons were just reskinned Marine and Covenant weapons, and I didn't feel the villainy of the Covenant in this weapon. I felt that Master Chief was invincible the entire game, and I didn't feel like that in the rest of the other 3 games. I'm not done. All right. There was an article recently.
Excuse me, shit.
I can't believe you just said. I can't believe Chris Hawk just said
There was an
a
article.
Halo game. I'm leaving, just like Joey Hill last week.
There was an article recently that came out from a member of 343, Frank O'Connor. Look him up. He heads 343. Well, he doesn't head, but he's part of 343 and he's important. When hiring new blood for the Halo 4 game, they actually hired those who actually hated the first 3 games. They hated the tradition of the game. Why would you do that? That to me shows the most out of everything. When I played the first 3 Halos, you could feel the love that Bungie put into these games. You could feel the humor, and you could feel that they put their best into the gameplay, the arc, and the ending, and the feedback from the fans after each game. You didn't feel any of that in Halo 4 because Halo 4 wasn't about Halo anymore.
I have something to say to that, but I'm going to let Joey Hill go.
Yeah, I have stuff to say about it too. But I'm going to take my turn. Most unneeded sequel for me. Personally, deep down, this was a sequel to a game that I cared a lot about. And it's one of my most memorable games in my entire gamer career. For me, the most unneeded sequel was Duke Nukem Forever. That game was not needed. And the reason I say that...
I liked it because you could pick up a turn and throw it at people.
Yes, you could throw poop. But, come on, man. I think that was just a gimmick, and it was overdoing it. You took the character too far with Duke Nukem. throwing poop, that's just ridiculous.
Monkeys do that.
Monkeys do that. Duke Nukem's not a monkey.
I do it.
For me, the first 3 Duke Nukem games on the PC, those were some of my first gaming experiences. It doesn't get better than that for me. I can go through those games, tell you where every single secret is. I know all the lines that Duke Nukem says, and I still play those games because I love them that much. It took 15 years after the game was picked up and dropped, picked up and dropped, picked up and dropped, about 4 times by different developers for it to come out. 15 years. I think by 15 years, I had moved on. I had accepted Duke Nukem 3D as its own, those 3 games as its own core thing. I didn't want anything more to do with Duke Nukem. I wanted them to stay classic, to stay the way they were. I wanted to continue to use the soundboard and not have to worry about new crap. But then this new game comes out. I'm a little excited. Yeah, it's Duke Nukem. But what did they do? They pooped all over it, and they threw the poop.
Just like you could do at the
For
beginning
me,
of the game.
the sequel would have been fine. It would have been fine 2 or 3 years after Duke Nukem, after the original PC games, back when Duke Nukem was a big fish in a small pond. But now he's this tiny little fish in this big giant pond of shooters, and it just didn't translate well into the new generation of shooters. And it was best left as a classic.
I'm still shocked Chris Hawk picked Halo 4.
All right, and you said you had a point.
I thought you loved that game.
Or Duke Nukem Forever.
Part of
I'm
the
sorry.
issue with both of your games is they still advance the story. Duke Nukem still reintroduces the character to a new generation on a new console. Like
That
still
game was
helps
never
him.
intended for a new generation. It was
well-
intended for fans of Duke Nukem.
Yeah, and it's the fans that pushed for the game to be made, so it wasn't really unneeded.
There was no-
Everyone wanted to play
If there
Duke
wasn't
Nukem.
demand for it, it would never have been made. But there was
To
demand
be
for it.
fair, too, Halo 4 was also more of a let's continue the canon story.
Halo 4 advanced the story. Okay, when Halo 5 is going to come out, we still need Halo 4 for the story. Assassin's Creed, you can literally skip Brotherhood and Revelations, and you can go into 3. You'll be fine. You miss like one thing.
It's true, I actually
it's
beat
the
both of
same
those.
guy's story 3 times in a row. It's ridiculous. You don't need to. Oh, he's what, 18? Oh, now he's 33. Oh, now he's 56, running his own
Have you played these
Assassin's
games?
Creed.
Have you played
I have actually.
Are they
yes.
good?
No, they suck.
Oh,
'Cause
aren't they the same as the first game,
thing.
though?
Exactly.
I've actually
'cause they're
played
unnecessary.
and beat them, and yes, they do suck.
The story does nothing for the franchise. At least Duke Nukem tries to reintroduce the story to a franchise, tries to bring the character back, and Halo 4 advances what most people really want, the Halo, like, to make a comeback in the old way.
They didn't ever wanted the comeback. The Halo trilogy, the first 3 games, was perfect as it was. No one wanted Halo 4. Microsoft wanted more money, and that's all.
I think we got to put one thing aside. For all 3 of these games, there were people that wanted more. There were people that wanted more Halo. There were people that wanted more Duke Nukem. There were people that wanted more Assassin's Creed. So
I
that's
understand
why
that.
they're there. They wouldn't have come out if nobody ever wanted
There
them.
is more
Not one of
Assassin's
them.
Creed.
None of the sequels that we are talking about today would exist if people didn't want more.
Hey,
People
Mario,
always
can
want
you fact
more.
check
But is
how
it
long
is it
after
needed?
the, what was it,
I think that's the
Revelations?
question. Was it needed? No.
How long
I
Assassin's
don't think,
Creed Revelations
especially in Duke
came
Nukem's
out
case, it was
before
not needed.
Assassin's Creed 3?
We had moved on. In fact, if you are listening to this and you haven't played Duke Nukem and you're going to go play one of my favorite games of all time, then just skip Duke Nukem Forever entirely. You don't need to play it. You're going to ruin your interpretation of Duke if you play those games or play Duke Nukem Forever. I mean,
All right, go ahead.
Unnecessary to me is, sure, every game wanted a sequel, and Assassin's Creed had that. It was supposed to be a trilogy. What did they do? Made 2 games in between the trilogy to milk more money out of people. Because what do? You buy the game, then, if you want to play the multiplayer, you got to buy their pass. You got to do all that nonsense. And all they're doing is making more games. They're pumping them out every year. Why'd they need 2 in the middle if the second one can literally go to the third one and the story not be lost? You lose one character story, but it's not about who you're playing as. It's about Desmond. In the third one, you get his story. Why couldn't you have just gone from 2 to 3? Everybody loved Ezio as
George,
it was in the second one.
Don't they advance some of Desmond? They advanced Desmond's story in those 2 games,
Barely.
right?
Not really.
I will
It was
confirm.
minute, if at all.
I will confirm as playing all the way up to 3, and then I quit in the middle of 3. that Desmond's story was barely touched in Brotherhood and Revelations. It was all about
It was
Ezio.
all about Ezio, which is unnecessary to
Well,
who
what
the game
happens-
was really about.
What happens when you're a fan of Ezio? And that's the reason why you played Assassin's Creed. Like, you were more into Ezio than you were into... Because, I mean, you can ask, George, do you like Desmond's story, or do you like the Assassin's story?
I like Desmond's story, yes.
Do you play it for the Assassins, though?
I play it for the entire game.
Okay.
I enjoy
I know a
both
lot of people who
storylines.
don't give two flying farts about Desmond. They don't give two flying farts about Desmond. I mean, honestly,
Yes,
don't.
I know people
So for
too.
those
They're called
people-
hipsters.
Those people wanted to play Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations. They wanted more Ezio because they love that character. So for those people that wanted more Assassin,
Fact
have a
check.
fact check.
Desmond. Oh, sorry.
Fact check.
Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. What was it? What was the other one?
Revelations.
That came out a year after Brotherhood, and then Assassin's Creed 3 came out a year after.
Unnecessary.
They're like basically.
Unless you're a fan of Ezio, then they're necessary. You want to play those
But
games
you're not
if you
a
love
fan of
Ezio.
I feel like Halo 4.
Most people play.
removed.
There are a lot of people, yes, who did play it.
I have another
play
fact check.
4. Go for it.
This is an old. This is from like the last questions. Joey asked, "What was the first video game?" And the earliest known interactive electronic game was called the Ray Tube Amusement Device in
But what-
1947.
What was the game, though?
The Ray Tube
It is-
amusement device. That was the game.
I'm gonna blind
your
you with my
research.
Ray
Oh,
Tube.
it was
Do
a
your
missile. It was a
research.
missile simulator.
Oh, okay.
I feel like
simulator is
Halo
good.
4, Halo 4
Interesting.
destroyed the magic that was Halo 3 and before. Halo 3, the Halo trilogy had the magic and mystery of what the Forerunners could do, who they were, and what they looked like. And Halo 4 just completely destroyed that image. They ruined it. I feel like if it was better off not being known. You had this lackluster looking villain ending and just bad guys that were just it felt like they were just last minute additions. It just didn't feel right.
Okay, I've got questions about each of your games real
Okay.
fast.
Can I say something to Chris Hawk before you ask?
One thing.
All I want to say is that at the end of Halo 3, Master Chief drifts off into space.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to know what happened to Master Chief.
If you beat Legendary, you know what happens.
He drifts off into space. And obviously in Halo 4, he comes back.
That's wrong. And at the Legendary Edition, you see him floating toward a planet.
Well, then he comes back on that planet. Maybe he just rested on that planet. We don't know. I'm sure there's stuff there. But the ending of Halo 3 left you wanting more. So it left it. You knew there was going to be a Halo 4.
No. Halo 3
Hold on.
shows the end of the arc and the Halos. And that's it, and it's done.
Well,
All
what
right.
about Master Chief?
All right.
That's
hold
the end
on.
of Master Chief's story. That was-
Previously in
Host
HighScore
is calling
ThrowDown,
it.
Hey,
Previously in HighScore
Oh,
ThrowDown,
you're not calling it?
No,
John
I've got
Knoke
questions.
But the host
John
got
Knoke
questions.
said that Halo is
Host
about
got
Master
questions.
Chief's story.
Yeah,
Where
and
does
his
it go
story
after Halo
was
4,
done.
Halo 3?
His story was done
Where
after
does it
he
go?
beat the Halos.
Hey,
Throwdown.
hey, all right. Really throwing down
is
here.
very
Yeah,
real.
yeah. All right. So Halo 3 was originally supposed to be. Halo was originally supposed to be a trilogy. That's
Yes.
all Bungie intended for. Now I've got questions about your individual games. Joey, I'm going to start with you first. Duke Nukem was a series that was meant to be funny. Was Duke Nukem Forever funny?
Not really. It was. They tried too hard. You ever watch like a show that's supposed to be funny, but they just try way too hard and it's not funny?
I think it's subjective.
Then it
Did
wasn't.
you laugh at all? In
I
Duke
think
Nukem
that
Forever?
in the original Duke Nukem, they did actually want to take their character seriously because you got to remember it was late '80s that they started making it, and then it comes out in the '90s, and then they wanted to make this chauvinistic, hardcore, quintessential '80s badass character, and because of that, you have blow it out your ass and suck it down.
Okay.
Where is
I'm
it?
here to kick ass, chew bubblegum.
Yeah, shake it, baby. And you have all that, and that was part of the character. At the time when it was
Roddy
made,
Piper, guys.
the people who made it, they wanted the most badass guy that they could make. But when you play it now, 20 years later, you're like, that's funny because it's so over the top that they went
Okay.
with the character.
I have a fact
So
check.
originally, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but that's what keeps the game going. That's what makes it classic. Is that over the top character that they gave?
Okay.
I have a fact check.
Fact check.
The Kick-Ass Chew Bubblegum is actually from They Live, an 80s movie with Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper
I actually knew
was the
that.
first to quote that.
I know.
Okay.
I actually knew that.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It
So-
did come up in Duke Nukem, though.
Chris Hawk.
Here to kick ass
Now-
and chew bubble gum. And I'm all
This
out
is
of
a
gum.
personal question about your personal opinion.
Okay.
Did you care about I've actually got kind of two of them. Did you care about what happened to Master Chief after the end of 3?
Yeah. Of course I did.
All right, then was your sequel unneeded?
Yeah.
Sometimes
the best stories are the ones that make you think after they're done. They leave you hanging. They keep you full of wonder. And that was the best thing, because I could create my own Master Chief story in my head. But now that's already told for me.
But people want to know.
Ruined for me.
That's a good point, because there are a lot of fan fictions about what happened to Master Chief afterwards.
That's great.
Okay.
But that's because people wanted
but
more, and they got more with Halo 4.
Okay. Now, did you play and enjoy Halo 4?
Yes. But not the same way I enjoyed the first 3 games.
Okay. Now, John Knoke, for Assassin's Creed,
Yes.
when did you stop playing Assassin's Creed?
I actually bought Brotherhood and Revelations. I never beat them because they both suck. And I played 3. And then I quit after 3. I didn't beat 3 either because it's the same stuff. It's
Just
repetitive.
played 4, it's pretty good.
So,
I actually beat Brotherhood.
I beat
I can
Brotherhood and
skip. I
Revelations,
can
that was
totally
terrible.
skip Brotherhood and Revelations and be fine with 3.
I believe you could.
They're not going to reference anything that.
I'm not saying that they wouldn't reference them. They exist. They have to reference them. I'm saying you didn't need to make them, and the story would still be great.
Could they
Okay.
have been better
Halo.
as DLC?
No, because they just expanded Ezio's story into, what, 9 hours of story mode? Like, that's ridiculous. Halo 4 advanced the story. Duke Nukem brought a character back, reintroduced the story.
I think they made a
Assassin's
mockery
Creed
of the
Brotherhood
character.
and Revelations
That's all it was.
did not need to be made. They may have sucked, but they were necessary for the series. I
thought
actually
Halo
have a
4 was
friend.
pretty good.
I actually have a friend who was waiting the full 10 years for that Duke Nukem sequel. He bought the collector's edition and he loved the game. So I mean, not everybody hates it.
Okay.
Not everybody hates Assassin's Creed, but you could do without them.
So there are plenty of people who loved Ezio
love
so
Assassin's
much that
Creed, but I
they
hate
wanted
those.
Revelations, they wanted Brotherhood,
All right.
because they loved Ezio.
I'm going to call it. Now, I'm going to give it to John Knoke because Assassin's Creed was about Desmond originally, not Ezio. So no matter what the fans wanted, they should have continued with their plot.
They could have made spin-offs. I mean, that could have happened, but they didn't.
All right, but this question's going to go straight into our next question, and that's how many sequels is too many sequels? Now, to clarify, I'm referring to games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, all those games that Assassin's Creed's a good one, where there's so many games coming out each year. When do they need to stop? So I'm going to start with John Knoke.
Do you want an
never start?
example or do you want a
Do I
number?
never start?
Calm down. Do you want an example or do you want a number? I need a clarification.
You
on
start the
question.
next 2. 2, 2, 2.
Example or number? Both.
Why?
Okay, the answer is none. No amount of sequels is too many sequels.
Okay.
They just have to be good games. That's my argument.
Chris Hawk?
I agree with John. There should never be a limit to how many sequels a franchise can have. As long as the consumer demands more, the producers can just pump out sequel after sequel. Many people argue that nothing ever changes after every Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Battlefield sequel, but the majority consumer know what they're getting and don't care. They love
He's
the game, and
reading
that's
so
all that
fast.
matters.
That was really fast.
Notes.
Show him.
I could play devil's advocate, but I'm Joey Hill, the Salt King, and I always go with my heart. There's never, they're really, you shouldn't stop. If the franchise is successful, keep going. Keep going. I'm just gonna provide a little bit more to the argument
Okay,
here.
go ahead.
If the franchise is doing it right, then let the sequels fly. Some people say that too much of a good thing is bad for you, but not in the case of video games. The way I see it, as long as the franchise is doing it right, keep on going. Final Fantasy is a great example of a game franchise that has largely done it right. As far as I know, the first 12 installments are all great, noteworthy
13
games.
is great!
And according to Chris Hawk, 13 is the best one of them all.
Even though he's never played it.
It's awesome!
Assassin's
matter.
Creed is another great example.
Yeah,
okay.
He mentioned it earlier, Halo
All right.
4.
I don't
All
think
right.
this is necessary. We all agree.
All right, so you all agree. Nobody wants to play devil's advocate.
I do not.
Yeah,
I do.
sticking with my heart here.
All right, then
George does.
no points are awarded this round. So, next question. Are episodic games necessary? They've been coming out for a while now. And I'm going to start with Chris Hawk.
Alright, yes. Episodic games are way cheaper to make than regular full-length games, therefore are cheaper for the consumer, and if you didn't like the game, there wasn't a great risk to begin with, and you didn't spend anywhere near $60 on a video game. Developing in smaller chunks means developers can better adapt to community feedback in between releases. Less risk for game developers as they get usually more than one chance for a breakout game, when game studios can only really support one video game. And they're usually incredibly story-based, and I love that about episodic games.
Okay.
So that yes, they are necessary.
Joe Hill?
I would first like to say that I really, really think that I've read that article that he just read. Anyways, I'm going to go on to continue his argument and say yes, they have their place in modern gaming. A really good example that I want to go into is my mother. She loves episodic games, and the reason why she loves them is because if you ever try to watch my mom play a shooter, it's absolutely horrible. You look at the floor a lot, and she has a hard time with games like that because she's older. I guess she doesn't really grip all the controls in modern games. So for her, the best part of a game is the narrative. It's that story elements, and that's what she wants. That's why she plays games. She wants that story. So for her, episodic games are a way for her to get that story, to get that narrative, without having to worry about all the crazy controls that comes with playing Halo, Call of Duty, or something with a complicated control scheme. You know, because for her, trying to coordinate both those sticks is a lot of work. So I think there's an audience there for episodic games that they want that narrative, they want that story, and they don't want to have to deal with this crazy.
Are we all just going to agree on episode games?
I have a feeling we're all going to agree here. So
My answer is yes, and I'm not going to advocate it because I did not prepare an argument.
You did? Yeah,
No,
I see some notes
I didn't
right
actually. I
there.
prepared an argument for everything else, but we all disagreed on those things, so we're fine. I really approve of episodic games because it creates a new genre. So.
It does. It's a brand new genre.
They've been around
and,
since the 1970s. So.
Damn it, I wish I was on the panel.
Well, I guess the
same here.
70s genre is coming in.
I'd have done the
all
same
right, so
thing.
nobody's going to play devil's advocate here either. All right, all
You can
right.
change your answer.
You can change your answer if you want.
but I refuse.
I'm going to stick with my heart here.
So
Debate.
I need your last. I need your last verdict. You're not going to play devil's advocate, Chris?
I think we should all debate against the fact checker right now.
I
We all
agree
get
with the
points,
fact checker.
Or
though.
he
All right.
takes away points.
All right.
Fact checker has a point.
I agree with Mario though.
All right. So this may end in another tie. I
hope
have
it
no.
does.
I have
Is
no
this the last
clue.
question?
Yes.
Oh.
Wait, no.
What?
We should have another one.
No, there's two.
Oh,
Video
yeah.
game
Yeah,
movies
yeah.
and
Oh,
lives.
sorry,
Two more.
sorry,
There's two more.
sorry.
Come
my
on,
notes.
host.
Oh
Whoa, I gotta
Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't have gone out of order.
no, I went. I had it, but
Who's
it's
this
like
guy?
grouped.
We pick him off the streets?
My notes.
I'm stripping you
typo,
of your
all
prodigy
right.
nickname.
Yeah.
Edit this out. Start and then cut
Welcome
it.
to the Firehouse Club. We ride the pole for fun.
All right, and then. Woo! Start it here. All right. So next question: should we be excited for video game movies?
This is
Chris
a-
Hawk.
No. When movies
it's a widely
move away
visited
from the
topic.
source material and become their own entity, they are no longer video game movies. The two most successful video game movies are Lara Croft Tomb Raider and Prince of Persia Sands of Time. While not necessarily bad movies, they are mediocre at best, trying hard to capture the magic of the games but falling short. Almost a campy parody. They
no,
just
Forward
do
Unto
not
Dawn was pretty
turn
good.
a profit. Tomb Raider barely broke the $150 million profit margin. They just don't make the money that companies are willing to shell out to make. And I'm done.
So that's a no.
That's a definite no.
Okay.
My answer is why not? So yes, I think we should be excited for them. I can only think of a couple good movies. Chris Hawk named some of them. Another one for me was Hitman. I thought Hitman was a fantastic way of bringing a video game to a movie. Other than that, video game movies so far have been pretty much forgettable. But I think that's because it hasn't been done a lot. In today's modern movies, Hollywood is starting to run out of material. They're relying on a lot of remakes and things like that. So I think that going to games that have fantastic stories and bringing them into a movie will stretch it into a new audience. And I know that gamers will be excited about a Metal Gear game. Chris Hawk, John Kanogi, are you guys excited for 50 Shades of Grey? It just came out. Are you guys going to go see it? Do you want to see that movie?
I might, but
Is my wife excited about it? Because that makes me excited about it.
My
I
mother
haven't
is
given my
just-
answer yet. So
My mother
Where's
is.
your balls, bro?
Where's my balls? Where's my
No,
balls?
no. You got. The fact is, you guys aren't excited about it. But
Chris Hawk, give me your man.
women
Never,
everywhere.
whoa. This is a movie based off of literature.
I'm just saying.
I will give it a chance.
Now, okay, all right. But you're not excited.
No, I'm not excited.
Now, what if suddenly out of nowhere, just out of nowhere, Mario B texts the group text and it's a Mass Effect movie trailer? Are you going to get excited?
No.
Are you going to start talking about how much it's going to suck? Are you going to start talking about how much they might be able to pull it out of their butt? Are you going to start talking about how much this actor is going to be great for Shepard or this actor is going to be great for Ashley? Yes, you are, because you're going to be excited about that video game movie. And I think we should be excited about video game movies. So what if it ends up sucking? At least we had a great time being hyped up about it.
Yeah.
And what if it's good?
Yeah.
What if it's good?
All right.
If it's good and blows your mind,
Yeah.
then heck yeah, I'm glad I was
Yeah.
excited about it.
All right.
I'll let
All
At
right.
least it's
speak.
not nothing with hot fudge
John
brownie
Knoke.
sex.
I'm glad Joey Hill did most of the arguing because my answer is also yes.
Okay. Okay.
So
Here we go,
I'm
guys.
just gonna say that there's not enough evidence to say that they're bad because there are some bad superhero movies, but look at the good superhero movies that have been produced.
Yeah, but where's the good video game movies?
They haven't been made
named
yet.
two?
Exactly. So
They
why
haven't been made
should
yet.
we be excited about video game movies that haven't been
All right.
are not even out yet?
Or-
You named two. I named a third one.
Mediocre
on,
at
hold
best.
on.
Mediocre at best.
I got.
So are you playing devil's advocate? I don't
No,
understand.
No,
I am-
this is his honest
I am honestly
answer.
saying no.
All right.
Oh.
So if
I'd give him double
just for
points if he beats both of us.
just for clarification, if Chris Hawk beats both of you, he gets 2 points.
We already
fine.
did this at the beginning of the game. You can delete this part.
No, I didn't put that in the recording, sir.
Oh.
So,
You could delete that part.
I'm keeping the lid.
All right.
Yes!
I'm all in. This is poker. Let's go.
all right. So
Oh.
Chris Hawk, real fast. If John Kanoki's Super Smash Brothers movie,
If I saw that trailer,
Did you not hear me at the end of HighScore ThrowDown 3? I was skeptical at best. What is the plot? Who are the actors playing the characters, and what is it about? I am not.
if I saw
I am
that
not
trailer,
excited.
if I
that
saw
was
that
my
trailer
one question.
tomorrow,
You guys argue.
if I saw that trailer tomorrow, there would be tinkle sprinkles in my pantaloons.
Skeptical at best. I don't trust them anymore. Why would I be excited about a video game movie when no video game movies are that good and to begin with?
I'm not gonna lie, I loved Prince of Persia. That movie was awesome. I loved every second of it. I'm personally a gigantic fan of the series too. And I think that's why I was excited about it. I was like, yes, Prince of Persia.
You know why video game movies aren't good? Because companies will not give enough money for them to be actual legit. And if they're not going to give them money, why bother?
It's gonna
Pick
take
George.
one.
Have
It's
you
gonna
not?
take one to break that.
Pick
One
George.
movie, one Iron Man movie is gonna come out and make it great. That's what happened to
Pick
Marvel
George.
movies. Iron Man took off. And look we have the Avengers
George.
and the Hulk and Captain America and all that stuff.
You remember-
and they're
George,
great.
you remember,
and that's what's gonna happen with video games. I think that they need to start branching out into those materials because video games is a huge industry. And if you start doing that in Hollywood, you're gonna make money. You're gonna start making money.
I
where they're
remember,
not
I
making
remember
money
when
now.
we went to go see the first Iron Man movie. You were skeptical.
Oh, I
you,
was.
You weren't excited at all. We
I
were
was.
not. We were not excited because we all went
right.
in with the lowest expectations, and it floored us. But this is not that.
All right.
Pick George.
Hold on, real fast before.
I guess
all right,
co-host
George,
has something to say.
George, co-host, what do you have to say?
Forward under down, fucking awesome.
Is that's an episodic. Not even. It wasn't even a movie.
I liked
Yes,
it
it
a lot.
was.
Yeah, I'd say it was a movie. It's long enough to be a movie.
All right. So my question for you two, I'm going to direct this to John Kanoki
on
because he
Netflix,
hasn't
look
really
it up.
said anything
That's
that
fine.
much. So, Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
That's a video game movie.
Yeah, it's great.
I actually really like that movie.
It is
Do you like the
it's a
second?
great
Do you
movie.
like the second one too?
I do. I like both of them.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
A good amount of people
All
like
right,
both of
and
them.
Joey
Yeah.
Hill. There's a Tetris movie coming out. Should we be excited for Tetris the movie?
Yes, get excited for it. It's
What
a video
about-
game movie.
Really?
Also, what about
really?
Tron?
Was anyone really excited for the Battleship movie? No.
I was.
Actually, my dad.
Not excited.
My dad does not go to
You
the
wanted to go
movies.
see it to see if it was bad.
It's
My
a
dad does
board
not go to the
game.
movies, but he
That
went
is a
to that
board
game.
It's not a video game. It's a board game.
It's
Oh, we're
been,
branching
it's been
out?
produced
My dad
as
went
a
to that
board
movie,
game.
and he doesn't go to
It's only a
movies.
board game.
We branching out the
Also-
board games here?
Tron.
This is the most
I just-
chaotic
Tron.
episode.
I guess it was a video game movie before the video game came out, but yeah.
When you have a legion
No,
of
not-
bad video game movies and another
I'm
one's
talking
coming
about
out,
the new
you're going to
release.
assume the worst. So no, I'm not going
Well,
to be
you
excited.
haven't
I'm
seen
talking about
Tetris
It's gonna take
yet,
one.
so how do you know
Are
it's
you
not
talking about the new
serious?
release Tron?
Are you serious?
How do you know Tetris isn't going to blow your mind?
Because it's
I hope
about
it does.
Tetris.
Look, just because I'm talking about how it could be bad doesn't mean I'm not excited about it.
I'm not gonna fact check anything this round.
I think if the right movies come out, you're going to be excited about them regardless.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter the history. It's about what movies are coming out and what they plan to do with it.
I just don't think we
For the
should be
record-
excited about it unless we see it first.
For the record,
If
I
we
was talking
see
about.
it and it's good, then we can be excited about more good video game movies to come. But you really can't make a correct assumption unless you actually see the movie. We can't be excited for any video game movie because they've all been terrible.
But that's the purpose of a trailer, to get you excited.
Same here.
So the real question should be, should we be excited for video game trailers? Video game movie trailers?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for a Mass Effect movie. And
Yeah,
there's no
if I saw a trailer
there.
for that, like I said,
I would see your Red Dead
tinkle
movie.
sprinkles
That'd
in
be
my
cool.
pantaloons.
I would see my Super Smash movie. That'd be cool.
All right. So I've got one more question, and then I'm gonna call it. For you two, as a group, you can decide who's gonna answer this. Call of Duty movie is gonna come out next month. Are you excited?
Well, I guess for me,
Their pause told me everything. No, they're not excited. If they were excited, they would have jumped on it instantly, and you know it.
This question's for them.
But it doesn't matter.
In other words, shut up.
I'm not a
Chris
big
Hawk.
fan of Call of Duty. In fact, I actually didn't even know there was a Call of Duty movie coming out.
There isn't. There isn't. I'm saying if there was.
Oh, if there was a trailer for it right now,
Yeah. Trailer for it right now. Call of
if
Duty.
I watch
the
that
movie.
trailer and it looks good, I'm gonna get excited.
What's it
I'm gonna
about?
get excited if I watch that trailer and it looks good.
Which Call of Duty? You need to be specific.
All right. Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Sure. If the trailer comes out, I'm gonna
And,
get excited for it. But
John Kanoki?
Why? Why would you be excited about a game you don't like?
because it's a game movie.
Okay.
John
okay.
Kanoki?
What happens
I
if it
guess
comes out and it's like amazing?
It's not a video game coming out. It's not another Call of Duty. It's a movie coming out.
Yeah, it's a totally different.
It's a different genre.
Is it? It's a different
I can't
media.
say I'll be excited because I don't like Call of Duty, but I'd have to see it.
I would be
I'd
following
have to see the
it.
trailer. If
I would
see
be
the trailer,
following
it'd
its
be great.
progress up until the movie came out.
It'd
If it's
pretty
not
much
a
be-
video game and it's an actual movie, then why wouldn't you be excited for it? It could
I
be
can
great.
see a Call of Duty movie being just like any other.
And there are going to be
military
Call of
movie.
Duty guys that go nuts for that movie. They're gonna go
I'm
nuts.
also not the best person
Look.
to ask because I don't like war movies.
I used to live in a barracks
I'm not
with a
a
bunch
huge
of
fan.
Marines. They love Call of Duty. If they saw a trailer, you would see Marines running out of their barracks room. Doc, because I was a corpsman. Doc, there's a Call of Duty movie coming out, and they would do that.
Okay. Chris Hawk. Halo 1 the movie is coming out.
Yeah?
If that was coming out, would you be excited?
No.
You wouldn't?
Because it's already been in developmental hell for so many years. Why would it be excited about something that's not going to happen?
It's coming out.
No,
That's- he said it was coming out. It's not about.
It's
in development.
not.
I wouldn't.
It's coming
Honestly,
out. That's
I
what
wouldn't.
he's saying.
I'd be
'Cause
excited.
The reason why I fell in love with Halo is because it's a video game and I played it with my friends, not because I'm going to see it on the big
I really
screen.
think he's lying there. I think that is a.
I honestly don't.
It's not what it's about.
I think Chris Hawk would be excited. I really think he would.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to call it. This is a tough one, you guys.
About time.
This is the best argument we've had all night, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree.
It's the only one that's actually been argued.
You guys make it really tough for me here. But somewhere in my gut, it says go with Chris Hawk's answer.
Oh, here we go. Gut answers. Here we go.
Give me some of that salt.
Because
It's from last week.
Here's some bath salts.
you guys.
Yeah.
Whoa, we ain't doing drugs.
There was some table salt.
Would you
on
be
here.
Winners
excited?
don't
Judge.
do drugs.
Judge, would you be excited
Would
for
I-
a video game
Would
movie?
I be excited? Honestly,
Here you go. Balance
The right
yourself
video
out.
game. A video game you love. If it's
it
coming
would
out.
have to be the right video game. Honestly, I'm very skeptical because
Skeptical.
Mortal Kombat, the two movies, hate them. What's another video game movie? Prince of
You're too
Persia
young for
was
that shit.
okay.
Silent Hill. Resident Evil.
Silent Hill and Resident
Silent
Evil.
Hill is good.
Silent Hill's
I've
okay.
I've
at
never
best.
actually seen either of those, but
Second-rate horror.
I'm not
George, what do you think
excited
of Resident
to see
Evil?
them.
I think he's
I
decided.
like the first two.
So-
the third one was.
So I'm giving
fourth
it.
one was just like what the.
So I'm giving it to Chris Hawk because you guys are saying you'd be excited for movies that are coming out of games you love. Chris Hawk's saying even the games he loves, he wouldn't really be excited because he doesn't want to see it damage this franchise.
I really want a Halo game to come out so he can get excited for it.
Halo-
Or not Halo game.
If he does,
Halo
I'll
movie.
I'll
And
change this
I mean,
whole.
what could you do though? Would you follow, if you're gonna make a Halo movie, would you follow the game?
He would follow the crap out of it.
No, like I mean, would you follow
If-
Halo 5? Or
I would
you
be so
in
skeptical
between?
because if it's bad, it tarnishes the game itself.
I don't think so.
It's not what they're about.
No, it's not. It's totally different media.
All right. So we're gonna move to our final question here. Probably our most controversial
Or
question,
not.
or not, because you could all just agree. Again, so we're gonna bring it back to the top with Joey Hill here, starting. Is there a line in video games you don't cross?
Starting on the question that's gonna make or break me.
Go Joey Hill. Go Joey
Let's see. For me, is there a line that video games like that we shouldn't cross in video games, or what is like? All right, is there a line you don't cross in video games? I think yes, there is. It's called the AO rating. Major sellers, GameStop, Walmart, Target, they don't stock AO games. You won't find them on the shelves. Very seldom do games receive AO ratings. It doesn't happen all the time. AO ratings, they're not there. They're very few and far between. If you go and you look up all the AO rated games, there's a very short list. It's not a long list. Look up all the M rated games. There's your list. You're gonna be there a while.
Right.
Hatred was one of the most recently AO rated games, mainly for the intense violence and the swearing and the blood. Manhunt 2, AO rated game. Games like Playboy the Mansion, AO rated game. Thrill Kill, AO rated game. Didn't even make it didn't even make it to the shelves. They didn't sell it. They canceled it in production because of how much it was in there.
Real fast, I'm getting signals on set. I'm gonna go to.
Tag me and Joey. All right, I'm going with Joey here.
Oh
All right.
God!
This is an easy answer. The answer is yes, and that's because you can't address things like rape, anything to do with children aside from murder. There you go.
It said Thrill Kill. It was rated AO before it was coming out, and before release, they said it was too bad. They didn't even release the game.
Okay, Chris Hawk.
There are no lines.
There are no lines.
I believe video games are art, and they're subject to the same scrutiny as literature, television, and photography, which means they are protected by the First Amendment. Art invokes feelings, proposes thoughts, and begets wonders. Video games do all of these things for better or for worse. Therefore, they should not be a line in video games. If rape, sex, and gratuitous violence are able to be portrayed in film and art and photography, they should be allowed in video games.
But Chris Hawk,
I got a comment.
those kind of things in a movie, they usually get not NR, not rated. They don't play not rated movies in theaters.
That's wrong.
They don't.
There is rape in movies, and there's still rated R. There is killing in movies, and it's still rated R. Children are killed in movies, and it's still rated R.
Movies that cross the line are not rated. They don't play not rated movies in theaters. You have to go to a very special theater to see not rated and adult content movies like
You can
that.
only find them in the red light district in Germany.
And in those kind of theaters, there's holes in the bottom of the popcorn.
I'll clarify my statement. It's not about
I don't
violence.
even think he's listening. I don't even think that.
It's not about violence.
I know it's not about violence.
It's not about violence.
I just don't. There shouldn't be a line.
It's about sexual acts.
All right.
Okay, so
And you can't depict that in a video game because you don't know who has access to it. They barely depict it in movies. Like, only foreign countries depict it in movies, and how accessible are those? Like, you don't really see them anywhere. I bet you can't name me the top 10 movies, or at least 3 of the top 10 movies where those things are depicted.
Well, Nymphomaniac actually released at a high, and it shows just sexual acts, and it's still rated R.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things to do with children and women, like sexual acts.
I'll say this real fast.
There's a line you shouldn't cross.
As far as in other media, Game of Thrones, right off the top of my head, I can think of rape scenes, children dying.
It
all
has
that.
incest in it too.
I got something to add. I believe there is, only because look at Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
That game made me physically sick to my stomach when I played that game. Mostly because of the penis level, but there was also the part where you gotta kill infants.
You didn't like
His mace?
You didn't like the
it?
dong level?
No, I did not like
the
the
best
dong
part.
level.
Not really.
Well, I mean, I'm done. I'm done
that's not-
arguing this right now. I am done arguing.
It's not. The answer is yes, and it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with
There shouldn't
sex.
be a line.
It doesn't
You know
have
what?
anything to do
You know
with
what this
violence.
does? If there are psychopaths out there that want to
I'll let Joey
release
talk for me.
their anger
I'm
on
not
the
talking
public,
anymore.
they can do it in a video game instead.
I say call it, or you can listen to Chris Hawk talk.
I feel like a developer is a composer. They are the artist, and they can do whatever they
He
want
chose to let
on their
Chris Hawk
own
talk
eyes.
more.
I feel like if you own a game with child pornography in it, you're going to jail. Just throwing it out there.
Agreed.
And you have the option to
Yep.
buy that game. There's no one stopping you. There should be no one
There's
stopping you
people
from
stopping
making
you
that
as soon
game.
as you do buy it.
There's
I'm just
people
throwing it out
stopping
there.
you if
You're
you
going
try
to
to
jail.
look up. If you try to
Alright,
look up
on
child
that
porn on the
note-
internet.
On that note, I'm gonna have to call it, because that one point sold me right there. There is a line. It's the law.
The only reason.
Chris Hawk,
Okay,
if you look up child
only a-
pornography on the internet, you're going to jail.
It's only a law in this country. You can do it in other countries.
All right, well, I'm
It's
going
just
outside.
because this is America.
I'm going outside so y'all can do the
Moral
speed
argument.
round.
This is why I didn't want to do this
Yeah.
question.
Tell us the score.
We have Joey Hill with 2, John Knoke with 3, and Chris Hawk with 3. So we're gonna move to the speed round. I'm sorry, Joey, you are not the champion of champions.
It's all right. I'm
I
just going
wanted
to have
to do
some salt
something
tonight.
And
Can't always go with
a lot of salt.
Joe.
The
Here we are again, Chris Hawk.
Oh my god, we're actually equal this time, John.
Oh yes.
John,
I hope there's a Final Fantasy question.
There are no Final Fantasy
I wish
questions.
there was a Final Fantasy
I
question so
hope
I could
so.
BS my way through it.
All right, so
Better boss,
BS
better characters, better story.
Have you played
BS won't BS won't win my heart.
All right. We'll see what will win his heart.
All right, so first question: what would you rather play? Just Dance, Dance Central.
Just
Just
Dance.
Okay, that was once again so at the same time.
They are literally even.
All right, Sega controller, Super Nintendo.
Sega.
Knoke said it first. I heard it from outside.
Do you think?
I think Chris Hawk said it first, but it's up to you. Who, if you think you should give it to Chris Hawk, or
I think it's too close to.
I was outside. I heard Knoke.
All right,
That's impossible. Chris Hawk talks louder than I do.
No, you guys were yelling because it's speed round.
all right. Best downloadable games: Xbox One, PS4.
Xbox
PS4.
One.
Why?
Because the PS4 allows indie developers to do what they want. Microsoft limits the indie developers. If you don't release first or you're not a popular game, you're not going to release on their console.
The better arcade games are on the Xbox One. You have classic Xbox One and Namco, and you just have. I lost this argument, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I meant to say PS4 because you can honestly play PS1 and PS2 and PS3 games on the PS4.
Name a game with Rumble in the title.
Ready to Rumble Boxing.
Royal Rumble.
there is a Royal Rumble game for Sega Dreamcast. Ed.
All right.
I said WWF Royal Rumble.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because Chris Hawk would have said WWE.
I mean, that's best 2 out of 3. John Knoke with 5. Chris Hawk with 3. Mario Party 2 or Mario Party 8?
Mario Party 2.
Why?
Mario Party 8. Two, what is that? That's the 64, right? That was Mario Party?
Yes.
Yeah. Mario Party 1 and 2. The controller. Mario Party 8 more accessible, easier to play. People love it. People love it more than 9. They're going to love it more than 10 if they bring back that dumb platform thing that you're moving on, which that's what I heard. The
Right.
originals aren't always best.
Okay.
In this case, they are. Mario Party 1 started it all. Mario Party 2 perfected it. It has the best mini games,
knew
and
he was gonna say
it has the best levels. I mean, the Boo level is one of the best levels in Mario Party out of all of them.
Isn't it in Mario Party 8 too, though?
Because it was a variation.
I believe there's a variation of it in Mario Party 8.
Because it was that good.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to give it to Chris Hawk because the controller, you can muddle through that. The game was better.
Speed round.
All right.
Speed round.
All right. So, which one of these 2 games would you rather play for 10 years straight?
Oh my god. All right.
Catherine or
Battlefront.
Zone of Enders?
Zone of Enders.
Why, Chris Hawk?
Because it's a customizable mecha game. It's way more interesting than some lovey relationship game.
Actually, it's more of a platformer.
I don't actually know what that game is, so I'm just going to speak to Catherine's strengths.
Okay.
That game's next to impossible to beat. If I have 10 years that I'm going to play it, I might as well spend 10 years trying to beat it on the hardest difficulty. That,
It'll take you longer than 10
easy is hard to me, so Nightmare is going to take me 10 years.
I feel like you want to play a game for 10 years that you can actually beat and then go back
I
and
don't
beat
want
it.
to repeat it over and over again.
I don't want a game that's unbeatable for 10 years.
It's not unbeatable.
It's not Battletoads here, man.
I have to give it to John Knoke.
With that, does he win?
I do.
Because there's no chance for Chris Hawk to come back.
He
And
does.
the last one is 2 points.
Wait, I have one serious question for you then. This could make or break this game.
Okay.
Okay? My question is,
Yes, Catherine
you
has
ra-
multiple endings, so I
no,
have to keep doing it.
would you rather have chainsaws for hands or have to fight that chainsaw hand guy with a dildo?
I'll
Big
take the
black
dildo.
Chainsaw hands. You can't beat chainsaw hands. You always win in every fight.
No, you're not.
If you want to go,
yourself.
if you want to go on a rampage against the cops, you're going with
Say it,
chainsaw
George.
hands.
Say it, George.
If you want to beat off and you got chainsaw hands, you're castrated.
You know, you can turn them off.
Damn it.
I want to
I
see
was gonna say, I want to give it to Chris Hawk.
So did you pick the dildo, John
I
Knoke?
did pick the
I want to
dildo.
give it to Chris
All
Hawk.
right,
I can still use my hands.
come on, Judge. Dildo
I mean-
or chainsaw?
Why is it Catherine?
I would
I
still give
declared-
it to Chris Hawk, though.
I declared for John Knoke to win
game, John.
for the
Good
last
game.
question because Catherine, from what I've seen, I've never played Zone of Enders. Catherine,
Neither have I.
Catherine has.
What are the odds? I didn't know that based on your argument.
Final Fantasy 13 again. Chris Hawk.
Catherine has multiple endings. It's a hard game, so I'm going to keep trying to play it for 10 years. So John Knoke, you are the champion of champions.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm going to buy a belt.
Joey Hill salt at the end. Got some salt for you guys.
Got some
All
salty,
right.
man.
I just want to say, John Knoke, please stop agreeing with me, man. I could have
We're
won
tag
this.
team.
I could have won this.
Strategic tag team.
All right.
John
We beat
is
Chris Hunt.
still the champion. He's the champion of champions,
Yeah,
and he
he's the
still
champ of
moves on.
champs.
Rumors of a tag team match.